Sorry about the little interruption there. We're going back again. So, back to the question. Jeffrey's not going to be different, you say, because he's outside doing stuff instead of being cooped up inside for an extra 2 months out of the year, on top of his already 9 months of being in school. So, the part about him going out and killing a living thing, does that bother you in any way?
No.
No? So, do you think it would have the same effect if he'd stayed close to home, had a dartboard hanging outside, and he was like throwing darts at it or something? Do you think he would have had the same effect?
No.
Why do you think that is?
Because we're killing a living thing, he's got more power over that than a dartboard. A dartboard is not alive. It's dead.
It's stationary, right?
Yes.
So, basically killing a living thing actually empowered him.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. I think that's pretty accurate. I think it empowered him, made him believe in himself a little bit more, and I think that's what made him an outgoing person. Whereas if they just kept him in a camp writing stuff, I think he would have been bored out of his mind there.
I would be bored out of my mind there, too.
So, that's a little bit of introduction about boys. What about girls? How do you think girls react aggressively to things? So let's give you an example. So say there's some bullying going on at the school, and it's a girl that's doing bullying to another girl. According to Sachs, the girl that typically bullies, so your normal kind of bullying, is that this girl will have many friends, they'll be socially skilled, they will act in groups to isolate a single girl, they are probably doing well in school, and they know the girls they are bullying. These are typical things of a girl bully. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Now, this chapter was written almost 10 years ago. So, is it the same today as it was 10 years ago? Do you believe?
No.
No? Okay. Well, what are those differences that you have seen in recent years that are different from what he said about bullying? Is it more passive? Is it more the girls that bully are typically like this, or are they becoming more outwardly aggressive?
Outwardly aggressive.
Do you have any instances or anything like that about it?
No.
But then, okay, so how do you know that that's the case then?
I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. According to Sachs, boys who typically bully they have few friends, they are socially inept, they act alone, aren't doing well in school, and they don't know the boys or girls they are bullying. I don't. That's the typical form that a bully takes on as a boy. Now, as for me, I don't know how accurate that is. There wasn't a lot of bullying that went on at my school. The bullying I did see, the boys do not fit this description. They kind of fit more along the lines of the girls who typically bully. Those things that they have many friends, are socially skilled. So I think it depends on what situation, what background in the school setting is for bullying, or in any setting, the type of aggression that happens. But do you believe that girls are very aggressive, or are they very passive aggressive, so that they just kind of sit back and say, I'm not talking to that person anymore?
More passive aggressive.
More passive aggressive?
And also, again, it depends on the situation.
Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be the case with any aggressive situation. It's going to differ from any others. But I think typically the norm is that girls are passive aggressive. Do you believe that to be accurate?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sachs agrees with you then. Sachs agrees with you is that most girls will engage in bullying by being passive aggressive. I believe the story that he gives is there's this girl named Julie. She's upset. The mom says, well, come and tell me. And he's like, all the girls that I was with, they don't like me. They were mad at me. They said something wrong to me at this barn where we go and ride horses or something. And he's like, the moment I walked in, they stopped talking. And to the mom, she's just like, well, you guys went out last week. You guys will be fine. So the next morning, Julie announced that she did not want to go hang out with those friends anymore. So is that kind of a situation that seems likely to happen between girls? Is that there's a sudden absence of talking when that one girl enters the room and so that girl feels threatened by him?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be an example of girls' aggression. So should that aggression to you be taken seriously?
Yeah.
Yes? Well, why do you think that?
What was the question?
Well, why do you think if that is what you have recognized as a woman's aggression or as a girl's aggression to other girls, is that important to know? And should that be taken seriously?
Yes.
So why to you?
If it isn't taken seriously, then it can be more of a problem later on if it's not addressed right then and there.
Mm-hmm. So it should be taken seriously and taken care of as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't, just because it's kind of a passive aggression, it shouldn't just be, oh, well, we'll get around to it later. It should be dealt with then.
Yes.
I can agree with that. I think it's very important that we recognize those aggressive situations as they pop up for girls in this passive aggressive way, that it still happens this way. I think, in all honesty, I think girls are becoming more aggressive
Mm-hmm.
and is acting out a lot more and being less passive aggressive as years go on. But I think that we should be aware that this kind of passive aggressiveness still happens today, as you have told us that it still happens today, and that we should be able to be aware of it and then be able to confront it almost the moment we find out about it, and not put it off, because putting it off will make it worse. So I completely agree with you on that. Let's talk about boys' aggressiveness a little bit here. We only covered it a little bit in the beginning. So for boys' aggressiveness, it's more of an outgoing aggressiveness. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So, hypothetically speaking, let's put a situation that Sachs also puts down in his book. Let's talk about it. So if I were to give you a ball, you're a 5-year-old girl or something, 6-year-old girl. You have a ball. This older boy, maybe 8 or 9, comes and takes the ball away from you and walks away. You're 6 years old, okay? He's taller than you. You already know he's bigger and stronger than you. How are you going to do anything to get that ball back?
Well, yeah.
Yeah? Well, what are you going to do?
Bring the parents into it.
Bring the parents into it, right? So is that a passive-aggressive way of doing it? Sounds like it to me. Is to get help from someone else. Mm-hmm. Would you think about going and hitting the person?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
I'd be mad.
Yeah? Okay. Well, like I said, you're more of an aggressive person than what Sachs describes it as. I guess the interviewers, they did this hypothetical situation, interviewing it with girls and boys of about 10 years old, and they found that the girls were more reluctant to go and address the boy and physically get the ball back. And if they did attack them, they didn't feel that the outcome would come out as well. That they would be more bad feelings mixed between them, and that it just wouldn't work out, and that they'd actually feel guilty if they struck the person to get the ball back. So let's talk about the boys. The boys' side of the version was, it was funny because one of them even quoted, I'm going to quote him here, he says, "Why should I feel guilty? It was my ball."
Amen.
So you say amen to that. Do you agree that that's the stance that the boys should have taken, though?
No.
Well, why not?
Because it would have gotten a lot more violent.
What if they just hitting them, got the ball back, they wrestled a little bit, and then they called it good, and they ended up being friends the next day?
Well, then, good for them.
Good for them?
Good for them.
Well, of course they would have had to get in trouble and stuff with teachers, I'm sure. But according to what Sachs is saying is that if that were to play out that way, the odds of them coming back as friends the next day would be way better than if girls were to do it. And they got into, say, a fist fight brawl. Do you agree that hypothetical situation, that a girl and a girl fighting would come back as friends the next day?
It usually depends on the situation.
Well, yes.
What the fighting was about.
But in this situation, it's about a ball.
But
10-year-old girls fighting over a ball. Would they come back as friends the next day, or would they? Do you think they'd be upset?
I think it would take them a little bit to get over the ball, but in time they would become friends again.
So, what if it was something more serious then?
No.
No? So, the minor things for girls, from your perspective, is they will not heal from those arguments so fast. But if it's a more serious matter, then they will not ever become friends again? Or they will always kind of be at each other's throats?
Yeah.
Yeah? Well, that's pretty much what I all have for this. So, given what we've talked about aggression, we've talked about boys, they are more outwardly aggressive. Sometimes they just get those emotions out, and then they're fine with each other. Girls, on the other hand, they tend to be passive-aggressive. If they do go into that active aggressiveness, they tend to not be very good friends afterwards, and they tend to hold grudges longer, as we've said. And they, if it's more important, then they really aren't friends after. If it's something dealing of great importance to both parties of the girls. So, my questions to you is, how does all this knowledge, does it apply to educators? Does it apply to teachers?
Yes.
Okay, what are those implications? What is the point of, why should teachers know this?
So then they can stop it before it gets...
Escalate?
Yes.
Before it escalates?
Yes.
Okay, that's with girls, because it seems that's the way it works with girls. What about guys? What about boys? Do they need to actively stop the aggressiveness with boys?
Yes. Immediately.
Well, why is that? Because it seems, from what Sachs is identifying, is that the boys turn out better because of their aggressiveness. So why, to you, I agree with you that their aggression should be checked, okay? It shouldn't just be let out. I agree that their aggression should be checked, but from what I've seen with Sachs is that some of that aggression needs to be let out. I think if that aggression gets let out, it's fine, to a point. I think a lot of the times, soccer or football or any type of sports, they can usually get that out. I think this is probably a big reason why elementary kids have recess. Why they took it out in high school, I don't know. Probably because they had an outlet or something. They have more activities and things to do. But to me, as educators, I think we need to be more focused on that these situations do occur, for the girls and specifically for that, because it's very passive aggressive. To me, as a male teacher, I might not even notice it. So with this knowledge, I can be more prepared to recognize
Stop it and
those situations. Now to stop it, I might need a little help from the parents or
to
something.
recognize it would be a big.
And so to recognize it, that would be a big thing for me. For the boys, I might be a little bit more lenient and just kind of, okay, you guys need to calm down a little bit, you know? So I can really easily see that for the girls. For the guys, I don't exactly know how I feel about it for stopping aggression as quickly. Because they will normally, the norm is that they will turn around and be okay the next day and be fine with each other.
Yeah.
According to what Sachs has said. So I think this, for me, that is correct with the implications, is for recognizing that aggression is going on, that it is there, and that these situations do pop up, and that as a teacher, I can recognize those and be able to adjust the environment for the school setting or whatever I need to help them be at school and be able to learn the things that they need to, and to help them out as best as I can. So would you agree that's an accurate implication of what Sachs is saying?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, well, that works for me. That's our presentation, and I think that's all we got. So thank you.